Hello and welcome to my review of the new 12th Doctor variants from Series 9. I've decided to review both variants in the same video as they're basically the same figure, just with different paint apps. So without further ado, let's start off with the packaging, then we'll look at the figures individually. So for the packaging, we've got the standard collector series design with a figure displayed there with a nice cog motif. We've got the scale of the figure, then what the figure is, the side of the box. Then we have an image of the figure, presumably the prototype. Then we have a bit of bio on the 12th Doctor, so do feel free to pause if you want to read. Now the packaging is exactly the same for both 12th Doctor figures, only difference is obviously the figure. And turning around to the back, we have an image of the prototype figure, and as you can tell, the trousers are a lot more vibrant on the prototype than they actually are on the actual figure. And we've got a 12th Doctor quote, and again the same. Right then, kicking off with Under the Lake and Before the Flood variant of the 12th Doctor. Now this 12th Doctor figure comprises of old and new bits of existing 12th Doctor figures, what we've seen before. So the arms are exactly the same and the legs, but I'll talk about some of the new features for this figure, well, the new bits of detail and etc. in the detail section. So the most noticeable new bit is the head sculpt, and yes, character options are slowly getting the Peter Capaldi likeness, but the thing will let it down again, and it's a problem what the collector's series has been facing, is heavy paint apps. I mean, certain angles you do get the lines on his face and that, but yeah, the paint apps are too heavy for us to get the detail. If you look at the original detail digital scan, should I say, you can really see that the likeness is there, but all the cragginess of his face is there. It's just the way the paint apps have been applied. Now moving on to the hair, I've got to say the hair is done magnificently. I mean, it does vary between each figure, because I've seen some with like completely black hair with a few grey strands, but this, I've got to say, mine's quite well, with this nice sort of dark base colour with the light grey wash over to give a sense of depth, and that's done rather nice. You can see all the individual strands of hair, which is done magnificently. I really do like that. And yeah, I've got to say this is a very good head sculpt, and you can definitely tell who it is. Yeah, so moving on to the hoodie. The hoodie is done rather nice. You've got the creases there, this sort of khaki green colour, and yeah, I really do like that. And the hoodie itself there, we've got the zips there and the creases there to give that lifelike effect. The Crombie jacket is different because it had to be altered to allow the hoodie to fit underneath the Crombie, so that's hence why the lapels have been extended, and the buttons have now been painted on the Crombie, and the pocket still remains there. And now on the sleeve of the, now onto the cuff of the jacket, should I say, we've now got the red button painted there, which is really nice attention to detail. I'm not sure what that signifies in the actual costume, but it's just a nice little added bit of extra colour. The jumper, this is probably the most iconic bit of 12th Doctor costume, I guess, in terms of the hoodie look, well, the raggedy look I like to call it, is the Paul Smith jumper, and that's done rather nice with a few white polka dots, obviously. They're not as massive as the polka dot shirt, because that was just way too big, but they've got the dots just about right. Now onto the hand. The hand does have the ring painted there. As you can see, it's very faint there. It just shows that the paint apps are very heavy within these figures, so quality control does vary. One thing to note, the Crombie does have that lovely vibrant red lining, which is nice to see a return after the rather bizarre 13 Doctors set 12th Doctor with that weird sort of pinky lining, which I didn't like. The trousers are done nicely with the creases to give that sort of lifelike effect. Again, we've all seen the trousers before, but the trousers have now been repainted a black instead of this charcoal grey, and the boots obviously are different, which I'll talk about later on when we get onto the height difference of this figure. But the boots are different, like I said, because in Series 8 the boots were Lokes, and in Series 9 they were Doc Martens. And on the boots you've got a lovely brogue design there, which is done rather nicely, and we've got the lovely boot tag there, and we've got the Doc Marten sole there, which is done rather nicely. So for articulation, kicking off with the head does move side to side, but I would be careful when doing this because the paint does rub off from the hoodie, and you do get this weird mark on his neck. Obviously this isn't quite visible on this one, but on my checkered trousers one it is quite visible, and I'll show you that later on. The arms do push out and do a full 360, but on one side the Crombie does overlap onto the joint, so it does make it a bit hard to push that joint forward. The arms are on a ball joint. You do have 360 at the bicep, elbow, and you do have wrist articulation as well. You do have waist, but it is hindered by the hoodie piece there. Legs do kick out, but again is hindered and do go out to the side, but it's hindered by the Crombie because it is made of a much more rigider PVC. You do have 360 thigh, you do have knee and 360 boot articulation. Throat, the articulation, it's pretty standard for the Collector series, but it's nonetheless very good. Accessory wise, the 12th Doctor comes with his brand new sonic screwdriver, even though it's not strictly accurate to the episode, but you could say that this is the comic book variant of the 12th Doctor with his new Sonic. But yeah, this Sonic is done rather nicely with all the clamps. You've got the little switch there and the emitter done there. Obviously the 4 individual tubes aren't painted because obviously it's just a small scale. You've got these little ridges there, the little gold little cap there, and the ridges there, done rather nice. I've got to say this is a very good sculpting of the Sonic, and the paint tap does a little vary there, but for such a small scale you can't blame them for not getting everywhere with now this fitting Sonic. The Sonic screwdriver into a 12th Doctor's hand is quite a bit of a task because obviously the hand sculpt is the same, so it's not exactly sculpted for this Sonic, so it just has to fiddle about. Obviously because I've managed to do this a couple of times, the hand sort of moulded a bit more open to allow the Sonic to fit, but when you first get it, it is a bit of a struggle to get the Sonic screwdriver in his hand. But if you are going to try and put this Sonic screwdriver in his hand, if you've got a custom red velvet 12th Doctor with the Series 8 one, you might want to be careful because the plastic is a lot more harder on this figure than these. The hands are a lot more rubbery in terms of plastic, so it's a lot more easier for the Sonics to get in. If you were to get that hand there, the hand would likely either break because it's just a lot more harder plastic, so be careful when trying to get that Sonic into the Series 8 version. Now on to the second variant of the 12th Doctor from The Girl Who Died, an episode I'm not really a fan of, but this figure, well this costume so I say, is a lot more vibrant than the previous 12th Doctor figure I've just reviewed. As you can see, you've got this nice floral t-shirt and the check trousers. So if we go on to the detail now, so the head is exactly the same as the previous 12th Doctor figure, again suffers the same problems with heavy paint taps, but you do get some of the lines on his face there, like there. The hair, this is a lot more lighter than the Under the Lake variant what I've got. As I said, it does vary between each 12th Doctor figure, so if you want to get one with, you know, sort of the greyish hair you can get, then it might be an idea to go in the shops. But again, it's done rather nice, as you can see all the individual strands with the sort of grey wash over to highlight that detail on the hair, which is rather nice. The hoodie is now this nice blue, well dark blue colour, which I really do like. And I forgot to mention the hoodie is a separate piece, which I would have thought that would have been moulded on, but no. Yeah, but again the hoodie's been moulded exactly the same, like, but just in this dark blue colour, and they've got the nice creases there and the 2 zips moulded there. The t-shirt, we've got this nice floral design with a border going along there. Obviously they couldn't use the exact design because copyright and all that jazz. The Crombie is exactly the same, you know, buttons painted again on the sleeve and pockets sculpted there, and the nice seam going along the back. And of course Capaldi does have his ring on for camera focus. There we go, which is done rather nicely, and it's a lot more prominent on this now one. On to the trousers. Now these are a lot more vibrant to what we normally see the 12th Doctor, whereas Peter wanted to sort of hark back to the 60s era Doctor because obviously the first 2 Doctors were renowned for having check trousers, and as you can see they're not as vibrant as they were on the back of the box, where the character thought, oh that's a bit garish, better turn it down and sort of give this sort of browny blacky wash over them, as you can see on the figure, which I personally quite like. I know people prefer to have the vibrancy, as you can see there, you can see a bit of the brown wash over there, but I think it just adds something. I think it would have been a bit too garish if they didn't have that sort of wash over them. I mean, that's another factor you've got to watch, whether it's too heavily done. Thankfully you can still see the checks on my one. So that might be a thing to watch out with quality control, because I've seen where just massive black splodges across the legs, so might have to watch that, but it's done rather nicely. You can see there a bit of mud there, and the creases on the trousers. It just adds a bit more variety to the 12th Doctor, so yeah, very interesting variant for the 12th Doctor. And the boots are exactly the same with that brogue design. For articulation, the articulation is exactly the same as the previous 12th Doctor, but like I said, this 12th Doctor does suffer with thin paint taps on the neck. I mean, I don't know if you can see on camera, but there are a few sort of blue marks from where the blue paint has managed to sort of rub against the neck. So just be mindful when moving the head that the paint apps might come off, because it is quite thin on the neck. I suppose it's time to look at the elephant in the room, which is the size comparison. And if you've seen other people's reviews, you'll know that these figures are massive. So if we get the other 12th Doctor figures, and the Series 8 12th Doctor was already a giant and sort of out of scale, but this really puts it into perspective. So if we put him back to back with the Regeneration Peter Capaldi, as you can see, there's quite a bit of a difference. So if we get the Series 8 12th Doctor, put them back to back, and yeah, you can see there is a bit of difference. Obviously, the main issue with this is the boots. As you can see, they're a lot more bigger, making him look like he's got clown feet. And there is a way around it. You can swap the boots over, but just be careful when you do that, because obviously they're on a peg and the peg might snap. Now doing a height comparison with some other Doctor figures, and yeah, as you can see, they do tower over the other Doctors. Now Jon Pertwee is the second tallest Doctor, obviously Tom is the first, but so if we just turn them back to back, you can see that the scaling is completely off. And now the 10th Doctor is exactly the same height as the previous 10th Doctor figures, and you can see that he just towers over that. But what makes it even more strange, if you were to line this figure up with your other Doctors, obviously he'd be the giant, but if you put him next to the 7th Doctor, look at the height difference on that. That looking at the height difference between the flight controlled TARDIS and the 12th Doctor, and he just about looks alright. You know, he's, you know, big enough for him to fit inside the TARDIS, so you can still do your little stop motions with the 12th Doctor figure, which is very nice. And yeah, he does tower over Jenna Coleman, well, Clara should I say. I know Jenna Coleman's quite a short actress, but yeah, she looks now very one thing to note, the head is removable. It is on a plug, so you can remove the head. So if you wanted to put the new updated 12th Doctor head on the Series 8 body, you can. Obviously the neck does look a bit extended, but it is passable. It's not like the Dark Eyes 8th Doctor head going on the TV movie 8th Doctor body, and it generally does look alright. Does look kind of extended, but like I said, it is passable, and it is one way to solve the height issue if you were to display him like this. So now on to my concluding thoughts on the 12th Doctor from Series 9. Personally, I think that these are some of the best figures Character Options have produced in a long time. I just love the detail on them. The improved head sculpt is magnificent, because they're slowly getting the likeness of Peter Capaldi, even though it is underneath the heavy paint apps. Obviously there are a few niggles with quality control, but that's varied across the board. So if you were to pick up these figures, then I would personally suggest looking them in the stores. Thankfully I was quite lucky ordering these online, and they turned out pretty good. You know, there's no real issues I have with them, bar a bit of paint rub on the neck on that one, but everything's all hunky-dory. But I would sort of say that if Character were to sort of boost and maximise their profit, obviously these figures are 10 quid, which is an absolute bargain, because they're just a few little tweaks there, but with some new little features with the hoodie, because that's a new sculpt, and that's very exciting, and the new Sonic's a new sculpt. But I thought it would be quite exciting if they added a few more little accessories, like another accessory like the 12th Doctor head, like have the Ghost variant of the 12th Doctor, so we could have another head with the Ghost sort of Doctor head, so you could interchange that, so you've got sort of two variants there. And for the Girl Who Died one, maybe like the Maya chip, that'd be quite cool, the one what sort of makes the shield a immortal. I think that would be quite a nice little thing to have, or like a sword. Yeah, but that would be kind of cool if they added those accessories. Obviously that would have boosted the cost up even more, but I'm not complaining, because these are some fantastic figures. For 10 quid you can't go wrong. But there is another side to this, is obviously the 12th Doctor era on the figure shelf isn't that great, in terms of it's just Peter Capaldi, well, 12th Doctor variants, Clara, and 3 Missies, and obviously if you've got a spare Davros, you can put Davros there. But monster wise he's lacking. Personally, for the Collector's Series line, I would love them to do some monsters, you know, maybe a new Zygon, a new Ice Warrior, a new Cyberman, just some monsters to fill up the 12th Doctor space, so he doesn't look like it's all 12th Doctor figures and a few Misses and Clara. But yeah, overall I would recommend these figures. If I was to pick one, I don't know, I mean this is more 12th Doctor-y to me because it's more dark and sombre, but the checkered trouser one, I will be honest, I wasn't really looking forward to, but having it in hand, I've just fallen in love with it. I think it's a very good figure, the checkered trouser one. But it depends what you fancy really. I mean, if you want sort of, I guess the hoodie's becoming more of an iconic statement for the 12th Doctor, so I would guess this is more 12th Doctor-y to me, and I think this is secretly my favourite. But the checkered trouser one is a very close second. I do love them both. So thank you very much for watching this review, and I'll see you in my next video, whatever that will be. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.